Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. If you all take a seat, we will get started with the inauguration of our institute. Thank you very much for your silence. The District Governor of the Hosting District 2040, District Governor Ettore Roche.
In qualità di governatore del distretto 2040, che ospita a Milano questo Institute internazionale 2011, sono lieto e onorato di porgere un cordiale benvenuto agli oltre 400 iscritti a questo importante evento rotariano. Con vera stima e affetto saluto il convener dell'Institute, il direttore Elio Cerini, rotariano del mio distretto. Un cordiale saluto anche al co-convener director Paul Nift. A entrambi estendo gli auguri di sicuro successo. Un saluto particolare ai past presidenti del Rotary International qui presenti. Louis Vincent Jai, presidente nell'anno 1996-97. Carlo Ravizza, presidente nell'anno 1999-2000. D.K. Lee, presidente nell'anno 2008-2009. Al past vicepresidente del Rotary International Serge Guteyron, al past board director Giulio Sorgius, aide del presidente internazionale e chairman di questo Institute, ai past board director Carlo Monticelli, Norbert Turcot, Raffaele Pallotta, Edgard Pandel, ai colleghi governatori che rappresentano i 69 distretti di questa vasta zona qui convocati, ai past district governor e ai futuri governatori che qui hanno incominciato il loro percorso formativo secondo i canoni tradizionali della buona esperienza rotariana. E saluto tutti gli amici rotariani che a vario titolo occupano nelle strutture dei rispettivi distretti posizioni di leadership rotariana. Infine, un caro saluto alla governatrice Innerwil, distretto 204, Lella Bottigelli, e al rappresentante distrettuale Rotaract Riccardo Combe. Il nostro distretto ospita per la prima volta nella sua lunga storia rotariana un evento di così alto e qualificato spessore rotariano. A beneficio dei molti rotariani che sono nostri ospiti per la prima volta, con orgoglio voglio ricordare quale posto d'onore spetti al nostro distretto nella storia del Rotary europeo. L'attuale distretto 2040 è erede diretto del primo distretto approvato dal board del Rotary International in Europa, quale distretto 46, dopo l'esperienza del RIBI. La data di nascita dell'allora distretto 46 è il 1 febbraio del 1925 e veniva ufficialmente registrato il 3 febbraio con la firma del documento di fondazione da parte del primo segretario generale del Rotary International, Chelsea Perry. Il 21 aprile del 1925 il giovane distretto celebrava il primo congresso nazionale del Rotary italiano, alla presenza del presidente Everett Hill, giunto in Italia appositamente dagli Stati Uniti. Nell'anno successivo, nell'aprile del 1926 si celebrava il congresso distrettuale, ancora una volta in presenza del presidente internazionale Donald Adams, che ci dedicò le seguenti parole: il vostro distretto è certamente il più ammirevole di tutti quelli esistenti ed io posso assicurarvi con piena coscienza che il lavoro da voi fatto in Italia ha meravigliato tutto il mondo rotariano. Ovunque io ed i miei colleghi del Consiglio direttivo sentiamo esprimere grande questo entusiastico giudizio. Oggi i distretti sono 10 e sono certo che le parole di encomio di tanti anni fa, espresse dal presidente Donald Adams, sono ampiamente meritate da tutti. Per la mia lunga esperienza di vita rotariana e per la conoscenza che ho sia del mio distretto che degli altri distretti italiani, che oggi sono tutti rappresentati dai loro governatori, amici carissimi qui presenti, posso dire con assoluta certezza che in tutta Italia, dai nostri club e dai loro soci, nascono ogni giorno decine di progetti encomiabili e formidabili iniziative, Il Rotary è grande e voi siete grandi per il vostro impegno quotidiano che esercitate con umiltà e con protagonismo e senza protagonismo. Crediamo nel Rotary, crediamo in noi stessi, conosciamo noi stessi per abbracciare l'umanità. Buon lavoro a tutti.
We open the first plenary session of this institute, and it is my pleasure and my honor to start with recognizing who is in attendance here, and specifically the dimension of this institute. 6 zones, 69 districts, representing 4,701 clubs, for a total of 193,000 Rotarians from 25 countries, and this institute is run in 5 languages at the same time. It's not an easy job, but what I would like is now to recognize this dimension and see where we position ourselves, and in doing so, each one of us will honor its own country and at the same time the parent countries of the 25 represented here tonight.
Albania, Andorra, Austria, Belgio, Bosnia-Erzegovina, Croazia, Francia, Germania, Israele, Italia, Liechtenstein, Lussemburgo, Malta, Moldavia, Monaco, Paesi Bassi, Portogallo, Repubblica Ceca, Romania, San Marino, Slovacchia, Slovenia, Spagna, Svizzera, Ungheria.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring our flags. And I think it's impressive to see the Rotary world in this western part of Europe. But beside our countries, beside the district represented here, I think it's my duty to slightly correct some mistakes of our governor and mention the leadership, the Rotary leadership of very high qualification present here at this institute, starting by my colleague in the board, Paul Kniff, who is core convener, the chair of this institute, past director of Rotary International, Julio Sorgius. We have 3 past Rotary International presidents. They have been mentioned. Luis Vicente Jai, Carlo Ravizza, and D.K. Lee. We have 7 past Rotary International directors. Serge Gouteron, Vice President, Norbert Turcot, past Treasurer, Carlo Monticelli, Peter Krohn, Horst Alge, Raffaele Pallotta, and Eckhard Pandel, my companion for 1 year in the board. And we also have 2 past Rotary International Director-elect, Gideon Piper and Jean-Marc Chatenier from France. I think it's a very well-represented institute, and I thank you very much the important guests who are here and will accompany us in this adventure for this evening at this first plenary session, and the full day tomorrow, which will be concentrated mostly on the title of this institute that I had selected with special care, and we have a lot of discussion about that. Rotary between service and philanthropy. Who are we? Are we still a servant leadership, or are we transforming ourselves into cheap sometime, because we only take $100 a year for the Rotary Foundation and nothing more, cheap philanthropers? This will be the question that will be debated tomorrow. But there are two persons, very important persons, missing among the top leadership represented in this institute, and these are the Rotary International President, Kalyan Banerjee, and Rotary International General Secretary, John Yuko. I ask you to welcome the President of Rotary International and the General Secretary of Rotary International, which will join us in a procession together with the flags representing officially the hosting country and their own country. Thank you very much. We welcome our President and we welcome the new General Secretary. Distinguished Rotary leadership, the Rotary Press and the Rotary Net are generally very generous in providing us with information of the Rotary top leadership. And frankly, no one has ever been more thankful than me at this time, in which I am supposed to introduce to you President Kalyan Banerjee and the General Secretary John Yuko, who kindly accepted to attend this institute. For what President Kalyan is concerned, my content depends on the fact that during the last 6 months, we have heard and read so many information and details about our President and his beautiful family, to make a formal introduction, frankly, redundant. We all know he was born in Kolkata, graduated chemical engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology in Kharagpur. He works with United Phosphorus, where he has the mind, the hand, and the heart. He has been Rotarian of the Rotary Club of Vapi since 1972. And to the city of Vapi and its community, he is not only one of the good citizens, but he is a very special one for the good things he has been capable to accomplish there. It is a very difficult task for me to find something to add about our President, but just thinking, there's always something to add. First, what the Rotary Press had not yet reported is that since last Wednesday, we may call our President Dr. Banerjee. The University of L'Aquila with the approval of the Ministry of Education, the Italian Ministry of Education, has confirmed him the Doctor Honoris Causa degree in managerial engineering based on his accomplishment. There, in L'Aquila, our President, Dr. Banerjee, pronounced a memorable lesson on how to combine science, vocation, and heart to serve humanity. Some of the people attending the ceremony are here, and they can confirm it was touching. It was a very impressive ceremony and a great successful event. I see Mrs. Binota nodding with the head, so we have the approval also from the floor. Thank you very much. Second of the things that have not been commented yet is that our president in this trip to Italy is, quote, under examination, unquote. And probably he has not found out yet. This is his first time to travel with our new General Secretary. And in a recent interview, President Kalyan, referring to the General Secretary, said, I see him as a person who has had a lot of experience in big organization and business and has a lot of international exposure, many different countries and culture, different systems and methods. I think he is a very corporate-oriented person, and Rotary needs that for the sake of our efficiency and to be more current, unquote. Your words, Mr. President. But he added, few lines below, Rotary is an organization of service and fellowship, and for sure we do not want to lose that touch. Full stop. This was a very impressive statement. We don't want to lose that touch. You also remember this word, sir. Yes, Mr. President, it will be an exciting challenge to bring both of these elements together. The Rotary world demands it, and I think I can speak for all the audience. We are all here as good witnesses to support you in your endeavor. I should say to support both of you in your endeavor. For this reason, on the request of the President, we will ask the General Secretary, before the President address to this Institute, to give us his first impressions and the perspective after the first 3 months in his office, so that you can listen to him and he can introduce himself directly. The third and last comment I want to add to complete this introduction of President Banerjee, with your permission, sir, it is to go back to a statement you pronounced at the International Assembly in San Diego last January. Looking straight in the eyes of his new crew, the district governor-elect, the present district governor, President Kalyan said, you never forget, my dear friends, the 2011-2012 district governor, that good enough is not enough. We have to strive for the best possible and nothing else. In welcoming our president to this institute, I want to assure him that the convener, the co-convener, the organization committee, the many persons who helped us, we all worked hard to put this event in motion, and we tried our best. We did a great lot, Mr. President, open to satisfy your high standard of what you will define enough. We are ready for your judgment and confident that our efforts will be appreciated. We count on your kindness. I ask now past President of Rotary International, Carlo Ravizza, to extend his cordial welcome to our guest, and especially the President of Rotary International, on behalf of the representative of the 69 districts attending this institute. Carlo Ravizza is representing this area. He belongs to this area. Thank you very much. Carlo, please.
Dear President, dear First Lady, Milota, dear family of Rotary, presentation have been done, so I will be short. It's very unusual and not foreseen by the protocol that the past president is speaking and saying good thing about the current president. But there are some special reasons. The first one is I am born here in Milano, so I am really the one who can present this wonderful international city. I was born some 100 years ago here. My wife always say, don't tell your age, but I will tell you my age. I am a young boy of 86. So, I know exactly that my wife, Rosanna, she's angry now in this moment, but I love you. There is a good reason, as I said, I am born here, and if you go 2 blocks from here, there is one of the main road who is called Carlo Ravizza. I was asked by somebody who is this chap, Carlo Ravizza. It's me. It's not true. It's not true. It was a poet. But you see how Carlo Ravizzas are entered here in the town of Milano. Because my father was Carlo Ravizza and my grandfather was Carlo Ravizza. That's used in our family. I changed, my 2 sons, I changed name finally. But that's the reason, because I am really the representative of Milano. Because Milano is such an open city, an international city. And there are really only a few Milanese really born in Milano, here in the room also, I think. The other matter is, in this day, I celebrate my 40 years I founded my club. So 40 years of Rotary. And the third reason was said before, I am your president of this area. I mean, this is a European institute, as I said very clearly in my address last year in Hanover. It's an important area. We were told 25 nations are represented here, mainly Central Europe and the south part of Europe. The other part is represented mainly the Scandinavian country, the Baltic country, Poland and Russia, roughly said. Outside, these are the continental area, outside RIBI for Great Britain and the Islands. So we have 2 past international presidents in Europe, Karl Stenhammer and myself. And friends, since the end of the war, Europe had only 7 presidents. 2 from Sweden, 1 from Finland, 1 from the Netherlands, 1 from Switzerland, and 2 from Italy. The first one was 1957-58. So we see, for all these reasons, you have your president here, and I think for the first time in an institute, you have a president, a past president of Rotary International, past president, who is in walking distance. No travel expenses to Rotary International. So, having said this, my first trip to India, official one for Rotary International, was 1985 in the Tamil area. At that time, travel, very risky at that time, going down in the Tamil area, because not of the Tamils, but because of the streets. And it was a 2-hour trip, very dangerous one at that time. But Rosanna and myself, we fall in love with India. And so it started with, at every occasion, we went to India. And it was, in my many years of leadership in different positions, the country I visited the most. And that's the reason I wish to be honored to speak about our president, because we are very close good friends. And that's the main reason to make this exception to the protocol. Because a lifelong I was with Kalyan. And in very important opportunities. Besides, it was said, and I can only confirm, if India has today practically no cases of polio, it's to Kalyan Banerjee energy. Because he organized, there was a critical point in India where we had no hope, there was no interest in the government. He arranged for me a meeting with the president of the country, with the chief of the government, and we succeeded to have a summit of polio in 2005, including also people coming from Afghanistan, from all the area interested. And this was the start that finally, through our President Kalyan, the government of India understood that they have to put some money in and not only Rotary money. And since that time, all the expenses in India for the polio campaign are money from the government and no longer from India. Please, this is the merit, one of the many merits of Kalyan. Another one is in 2000, he arranged, after getting me acquainted with the president of the country of Pakistan, I went to Hyderabad, and with the chief of government of Pakistan, and when the president of your country and the chief of the government, to have for the first time a peace conference between India and Pakistan. Can you imagine, since 48, since the country was split, many could never see their parents from one side to the other of the border. So 300 Rotarians through Kalyan were given a visa for the first time with a flight. There was no flight connection between the two countries, to come to Karachi for a peace conference. So you see, I think these two things alone give a great merit to Kalyan. I mean, I was asked, Ravitsa, you're giving no speech, no strong speech this year at this institute. There is a reason. Because for the first time, President Kalyan arranged for a special committee, an advisor committee, to support him. He picked up 15 people. So, from his judgments, some of the best Rotarians, not past presidents, some past presidents, but also down to simple Rotarians, training leaders, district governors, to have input in a high confidential committee. The high confidentiality of this, what we are speaking, the future we see for Rotary, we are committed, don't speak one word about, and that's the reason I'm not speaking this time, because the best speaker is here, Kalyan Banerjee, if we wish to speak about these things, but I think not. So you see, these are the things who has brought me to say this word. But the long friendship with him, and also between Rosanna and Binota, brought me to know him. We have the same education passing through, a technical one. Both we are engineers. Only few words, but a lot of actions. And this is what is bringing us together. So I find out 3 definitions for our President Kalyan. 1, absolute integrity. 2nd, he cares for people. 3rd, I admire his religious spirit. I heard him giving prayer in the old Sanskrit language that he is doing daily. So this is our president. This is a man I respect. I say thank you once again, Kalyan. You helped me such a lot. I learned such a lot also from you. Friends, we are deeply honored that in a few minutes our president, your president, will share his wisdom with us. I will assure you that our friends here will listen to you and will leave the room having learned something new about Rotary. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, the General Secretary of Rotary International, John Yuko, on his first performance in Europe.
Thank you very much, Elio, for that very warm welcome. Thank you, past President Carlo Ravizza, for those interesting words of introduction. Also, thank you to Director Paul Knipp for also convening this institute, and thank you to both for inviting me to be here with you today. I'd also like to thank President Callion for ceding some of his time today to allow me to address this this institute. And I'm also delighted that my wife Margarita can join us here today, as well as my daughter Maria, who's studying in London and flew in this morning. So welcome to the Institute, Maria. Your first taste of Rotary. Now, I have just completed my first 100 days as your new General Secretary, and I've spent most of this time undertaking what I have informally called a listening tour to better understand Rotary and to what this organization does. And a good part of my first 100 days were spent at the headquarters in Evanston, trying to better understand our programs and what we do. As you know, we have approximately 600 employees in Evanston, and we also have approximately 200 employees in our 7 international offices outside of North America. So clearly for me there's been a great deal to learn, a great deal to absorb. And as I go through my listening tour and I hear about and learn about Rotary, it's quite clear that the more I understand this organization, your organization, the more I am simply in awe of what Rotary has been able to achieve over its last 106 years. What Rotary, what the clubs and the Rotary membership have been able to achieve is simply incredible. And so I am honored and privileged to be joining this organization as your new General Secretary. As Director Elio just mentioned, this is my first official trip outside of Evanston. And I'm particularly honored that that trip is to Europe, a continent where I have very deep personal, professional, and Rotary roots. My parents are from Ukraine. They came to the United States in 1949 after the war. I spent the vast majority of my professional life as an attorney working in Europe, in Russia, Ukraine, and then in the Czech Republic. And while I was working in Ukraine, I was very privileged to be a founding member, a charter member of the first Rotary Club in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. And just this past weekend, I was in Ukraine and again was honored to sign the paperwork to rejoin my old club in Ukraine, in Kiev. So as of Monday, I am now officially a European Rotarian. Now, President Callion, in a few moments, will be outlining some of his priorities and thoughts for his year as president for Rotary as an organization. And as I've gone through my listening tour, I've been compiling a to-do list, a list of items that need to be taken care of that have come out of the listening tour. Now, that list has now grown to over 300 items, from the very mundane to the strategic and long-term. But as I looked through the list, I thought it might be helpful to highlight what I feel are some of the key priorities going forward for this organization. And I'd like to highlight 5 in particular. The first is the need to eradicate polio. This is our number 1 priority. We need to do something that has only happened once before in the history of mankind, and that is to eradicate a disease from the face of the earth. And as part of that effort, we Rotarians, we as an organization, need to develop a very robust public relations effort so that once we interrupt the transmission of the wild polio virus, we are ready to go so that we can make sure that Rotary gets its due credit for what it has done in this fight against polio. Because we all know that if it were not for Rotary, the world would not be this close to ending polio. And so it's important that we succeed in this task, not only because it's going to eliminate this terrible disease, but it will also set the stage for the next big global project, which won't be possible if we're not successful here. When I was going through my transition period from January to July, I was on a plane flying to Chicago, and an article came out in the U.S. newspaper, USA Today, which is a very, very widely read newspaper. And on the front page was a story about polio, how close we are to eradicating polio. And there was not one mention of Rotary in that article. And that is simply, in my view, unacceptable. As I said, what Rotary has done for polio, no one else has done, and we need to make sure that our message gets out and that Rotary is recognized for what it's done. And in this vein, I had the opportunity to travel several weeks ago to Seattle to meet with the Gates Foundation, our partner in this effort. We spent the whole day at the foundation, and we were fortunate, I was very fortunate to have a 30-minute one-on-one meeting with Jeff Rakes, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the foundation, and we also had a 1-hour meeting with Bill Gates Jr. himself. And in that meeting, he reiterated and asked that I reiterate to all Rotarians how very much he personally appreciates the effort that Rotary has done in the polio area. But equally, I reiterated to him that the more he recognizes Rotary, the more Gates and Rotary are seen going hand in hand in this struggle, in this endeavor, the more Rotarians will be energized to advocate for polio, to work for the eradication of polio, and to contribute to the fundraising efforts. And he understood that. And very shortly after my visit to Seattle, he traveled to Nigeria and to Chad. And I received an email from his chief executive officer while they were traveling to Nigeria, assuring me that he would meet with Rotarians in those 2 countries and highlight what Rotary is doing. And he did do that. And one of the results of the meeting was also that he agreed to work with us, with Rotary, to develop a long-term, 3-year strategic communications plan where Rotary and Gates go forward together as we approach the end of polio. So that is our first priority, in my view. We have to eradicate polio. The second is to operationalize the new strategic plan and the future vision plan. It's very important that these 2 documents not be simply words on paper, but they are translated into concrete action. And here I've recently appointed a full-time team in Evanston to focus exclusively on getting the organization ready for the rollout in July of 2013 of the Future Vision Plan. In fact, I've asked the team to be ready by January of 2013 to give us 6 months to work out any of the kinks. So that, I would say, is the second priority. The third, and the President and I have had many conversations on this topic, we need to find a credible way, an accurate way, a consistent way of capturing the worldwide value of everything this great organization does. We know how much we're doing through the foundation, approximately $150 to $200 million a year. But other than anecdotes, we really do not know what the value is of all the good works that the 34,000 Rotary clubs do around the world. And if we can find a mechanism to capture that value, I'm sure it's going to be in the $2, $3, $4 billion range. And that will help us with membership. It'll help us when we sit down with the Gates Foundation and other partners, where we can come to the table as not a $200 million organization, but as a several billion-dollar organization. And so with this in mind, we're now working on a tool called Rotary Club Central, where as part of that tool, we hope to be able to capture the worldwide value of everything we do as an organization, but also to provide to the clubs and the districts a tool to better understand what they were doing in the past, to preserve institutional memory at the club and district level, but also to help clubs and districts plan for the future. The fourth priority, and that's membership. In certain parts of the world, membership is growing, but retention is a problem. In other parts of the world, membership is steady or flat. And in other parts of the world, membership is falling. Membership needs to be a priority, particularly since in many parts of the world, the average age of Rotarians is growing older. And on the one hand, that's a good sign. That's a sign of the passion and commitment and dedication of Rotarians to the cause. But since eventually none of us live forever, it is not a sustainable model for the future. And so as part of our membership efforts, we need to, in my view, focus on attracting younger members. It's the younger members who are going to be the future of this organization. And in doing so, I would suggest we focus on a number of areas. First, we need to utilize social media much more effectively. We need to brand ourselves with youth, with younger organizations, so that when people hear Rotary, they think of many things, and one of the things they think about is that we are engaged with youth. We need to improve our website. I've just recently signed a contract to bring on board a consulting firm to help us redesign the platform and our website. We've just initiated a global worldwide branding revitalization exercise, which is not only looking at our logo, which is just a small part of it, but trying to step back and think about how do we want to project ourselves to the world. And it's a very difficult task because we're a multinational organization, and what works in one part of the world may not work in the other. We need to think about expanding e-clubs, perhaps allowing clubs to meet at more flexible times, be more flexible with attendance requirements, and keep better track of all of the young people around the world who've participated in Rotary programs. We've done a very poor job of that. And that is a tremendous pool for future contributors to the foundation, for future members of Rotary, and for future ambassadors for the great works that Rotary does. And finally, the fifth priority, and this is perhaps one that comes from my own personal interest and background, and that is there is a very spirited debate going on in the world today about how we best can address the problems that developing countries face. What is the key? What is the Rosetta Stone for helping developing countries solve many of their social and economic problems? And it's becoming increasingly evident. People are starting to understand that the real long-term sustainable solution is the private sector. And that is what Rotary is. 1.2 million men and women, leaders in their communities, businessmen and women. We have an unmatched platform to participate in this great global debate. I would like to see Rotary increase its presence, to be at the table, not only contributing with our manpower and money and volunteer time, but to be part of that philosophical debate. What are the great solutions? What is the solution? How do we solve the world's great problems? And so I would say that would be a fifth priority, to be a player, to sit at the table of that great international debate. So again, Director Elliott, thank you very much for inviting me. Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to address this body. I look forward to meeting with as many of you as I can over the next few days. And one of my important goals going forward is really to bring the Secretariat in closer touch with the members and the clubs and the districts. We are a bottom-up organization. It is an organization of members and clubs and districts. And I want to try to do all that I can to increase the ties and support that we in Evanston can give you, Rotarians, as you go forth in putting service above self. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. General Secretary. The debutto was excellent. And now it is the time for us to listen to the message of our President, Kalyan Banerjee. Mr. President.
Director Elio Sorini, Director Paul and Lady Rita, Past President Carlo, Ravizza and Rosanna, Past President Luis, Giai, Past President D.K. Lee and your lovely lady, Past Directors, General Secretary John and Marga, and your daughter who is also here today, the Institute Chair and my friend Julio, Sergius and Carmen, the Indian Consul General, distinguished guests, and my brothers and sisters in Rotary. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you so much for that very warm welcome, and thank you, Carlo, for those wonderful words. I'll really try not to let any of it go too much to my head this evening. Vinota and I are on our first Rotary visit to Italy, and it's been unforgettable. Governor Daniela Tranquilla and Guido in Rome. Don't be misled by Daniela's small size. She is a powerhouse of energy and ideas and hospitality and love and everything else that Rotary stands for. We had a great visit in Rome and met His Holiness the Pope, and who shook hands with us. We received, as you have heard, an honorary doctorate in engineering management from the University at La Aquila. And Director Elio did a magnificent job of organizing the visit, as indeed he is doing as treasurer of Rotary International this year, in times which are not really very easy. Yes, we are glad to be here in Milan, as I said, the home of past President Carlo and Rosanna, and it's a visit that we have really long been looking forward to. Well, it's been a little over 3 months since I became the president of our great organization. And so far, it's been an amazing and absolutely incredible experience. You get to see a phenomenal amount of Rotary, of the very best of Rotary. And you get to see a great deal of other interesting things besides, just along the way. Because if one were to advertise the position of the RI president in the help wanted ads, the job description would certainly read, with an elegant understatement, some travel required. You might think of this as an inconvenience, all the time spent on planes and in airports and so on, but in fact, I've been finding it an amazing experience, starting, of course, with the visits themselves, the people we meet, and the incredible work that they do. Worth perhaps, as John said, I don't know how many, $500 million, maybe $2 billion, no one knows, in value each year by the Rotarians around the world. And certainly we are trying to find a way to find out more accurately. But even the transit between the visits as I travel are great, because one of the many added benefits of this job is more time that I have. I've got more time today than I've ever had in my life to sit still in one seat. Never mind that it's an airplane seat, just reading a good book. And it all works out especially well, because if you were writing up that help wanted ad that I just mentioned, very high up on the list of position responsibilities would be the giving of speeches, many, many speeches. And so the reading time comes in very handy, because if it is a good book, with a little luck, you will find some good ideas for your next speech. And it happened that to be the book that I had in my carry-on a few weeks ago was called To Heal a Fractured World by the British scholar Sir Jonathan Sacks. It's a book about the ethics of responsibility, about the obligation, as Sir Sacks put it, to mend the fractures of the world, a day at a time, an act at a time, for as long as it takes to make the world a place of justice and compassion, where the lonely are not alone and the poor not without help, where the cry of the vulnerable is heeded. And although I am certain that the author of the book is not a Rotarian, although I should probably be working on that too, I thought that it was a wonderfully eloquent way of summarizing what it is that we in Rotary are here to do. We are here to heal the fractures of the world, the small and the great and the simple and the complex, wherever and whenever we find them. And if you think about that as a metaphor for Rotary service, that we are mending the fractures in our world, small and large, one at a time, to render our world sound and whole, then it gives you a very clear picture, a very clear perspective of our task and how to accomplish it. There are small fractures and there are large ones. The small ones perhaps we can mend ourselves. The larger ones will take time, cooperation, more resources, the involvement of many and of money. And it makes sense. It only makes sense that in a world filled with countless fissures and cracks of every kind, in every location, that each of us begin the task in the place best suited to us, the place where we are. We begin with the fractures we find closest to ourselves, indeed in ourselves, in our homes, in our families, in our communities. If you have a crack in the wall of your own home, you don't ignore it while you talk about the cracks that you have seen elsewhere. You start with the wall, holding up the roof over your own head first. And this is really what I mean to say when I say that reach within to embrace humanity. It means that if you want to have the resources, the strength, the ability to care for the world, you have to start with yourself. You have to start by reaching within yourself to find the strength and the love that you have, and then bring that strength and that love outward and share it with others. Because everything that we do, everything we aspire to in Rotary, it begins with us and inside each one of us. If we are looking for a world of greater kindness, we are not going to get there by telling other people to be kind. We'll get there by being kind ourselves first. Kind not only to strangers, not only to people far away, but to the people closest to us, our families, our spouses, our children, our neighbors, our co-workers, our fellow Rotarians, and people whom we see every day. We start our work by working on ourselves, by examining our own actions, our own values and priorities, and bringing the two into alignment. If the environment is our concern, if we want to see a healthier and more sustainable ecology, well, there are so many ways to go about it, small and large. But we have to start with our own daily practices, our own awareness of the water that we use, the fuel that we burn, the resources we consume, and where they come from. And so when I say reach within, what I mean is recognize that if we are to heal the world, to repair those fractures and those fissures, we have to begin by being sure that we ourselves are sound first. And that is why our first emphasis in this Rotary year is on the family, because the family is where all our goals begin. If we wish to see a world that is more joyous, we first have to make sure that the families of the world are more joyous, that they have the things that they need to thrive and move forward with. I was born in Calcutta, now called Kolkata, the city of Mother Teresa. And I've had the privilege to work with her on a mission in the past. And Mother would say that the problem with the world today is the family. Parents don't look after their children enough. Children don't listen to their parents. Parents, in fact, often don't care for each other at all. And life in the home is so very disturbed. And in the home begins the disruption of the peace of the world. And so, my brothers and sisters, let's never forget that the family is the building block of the community. And as the family goes, so goes your community. And as the communities go, so goes the nation. And indeed, so goes our world. So we have to look at housing, at clean water, at sanitation, at health care, at all the issues affecting mother and children. A family continues the line, connects the generations past with better things yet to come. And in our Rotary service, we hope to do just that, to continue the things that we do well, and to create positive change where and how we can. And that's why our second emphasis is on continuity, on continuing and strengthening those things that we do well. There are so many areas in which we have been so successful, working for clean, safe water, spreading literacy, working in so many ways with Generation Next, our youth. These are the things that we have to keep on with, keep building, and keep expanding on. And of course, our greatest project, polio eradication, about which we have been hearing so much this afternoon, where we have kept on year after year for so long, and where we finally are this close to the end. And then, of course, there are always the things that we can do better, things that we should be changing, and the issues that we haven't even begun to address so far. I believe we must have the wisdom and the courage to see these and identify them and engage ourselves in them. And so our third emphasis in 2011 and 12 is change. And we start by being the change ourselves that we wish to see in our world. We start by opening our eyes, by taking a good look, even a hard look at ourselves and at our clubs, at seeing what we ourselves could be doing better. Talking not only about the whole district, the whole organization, but also about ourselves as Rotarians every day and every week, in our homes and in our communities. We start changing the world by changing ourselves first. by recognizing our common humanity and by realizing that the people we help are really no different from us. We start by realizing that we are all essentially the same, and we all want to deserve the same things: health, hope, security, love. When we recognize this, when we see the hopelessness, the poverty, the inequality in the world, and realize that it could just as easily be happening to any of us, it changes how we see everything. And it makes us realize how urgently we need to change. Because at its heart, at its very core, Rotary is about change. If we didn't think change was needed, if we thought everything was just fine the way it was, why bother with Rotary? We could just go out and play golf. But we do believe that the world needs us. We do believe the world can change for the better. And that is why we are here. And in this Rotary year, the one change that we are looking for, working for, believing in, waiting for most of all, it is a change in our world from the one with polio to the one without polio. For so long, it has seemed so far away, this goal of ours. But now, finally, we are really almost there. So far in this calendar year, we have had just 410 cases of polio worldwide, down from 682 cases at this time 1 year ago. You don't have to do much. You don't have to know much mathematics to know that that represents a drop of more than 1/3 in just 1 year. A couple of weeks ago, we had the Indian Health Minister visit the World Headquarters of Rotary for the first time, Ghulam Nabi Azad. He and we in India have been working very closely to make sure that polio is eradicated. And when he came to the Rotary headquarters for the first time that an Indian minister has ever come there, and the foundation chair and all of us were there, he went back totally moved. He was almost in tears. He said, I had no idea what Rotary is and what it does around the world. It made a difference. And I think it's going to make a difference to the rest of India in the coming months. A month and a half back, I was in Nigeria, the other country, which also is causing us concern in polio. And I wanted to meet the health minister over there. And they called me for a meeting, and I was standing at a podium like this, and there's one gentleman who came in wearing my theme jacket, and he had my theme pin, and he was wearing my theme tie. And I was introduced to him. He said that he was first assistant governor. I said, where is the health minister? He said, I'm the health minister. He was 45 years old, and he said, thanks to Rotary, Nigeria is well on its way now to eradicate polio. Believe me, they have had fewer cases than they had ever before. It is a little more than last year because they have had an election of the president, the new president of Nigeria this year. They lost their focus for a little time. They are back. Despite the insurgencies on the northeast and the northwest, they are working hard. And so, what about India, which has historically been one of the toughest nuts to crack? Well, as you have been hearing, that we have seen only one case of polio, which was reported on January the 17th, when a little girl in the state of Bengal named Rukhsar Khatun woke up unable to walk. Just that one stray case, far away from the main battlefields of polio in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, where so many of you have done outstanding work over the years, and thank you for that. It is now the middle of October, and little Rukhsar's future is still very uncertain. But the future of all of India's children is brighter than it has ever been before, because since that sad morning of January the 17th, not one single child in India woke up unable to walk. There have been no cases of polio, not a single one. And just a few months ago, the New England Journal of Medicine published an article outlining the vision for a post-polio era. Post-polio era. Just let me pause now and let that sink in a little bit. That is accepted reality, that a post-polio future is nearly upon us. 30 years ago, such a paper would have been laughed out into the hall by the review board. It would have been nothing but science fiction. Today, it is where we are. It's where the world is. It's what we Rotarians have helped to achieve. And that's why His Holiness, the Pope, when he heard that I was from Rotary, his face just lit up into a smile. And he exclaimed, "Ah, Rotary." And I quickly told him how with polio we are working with other things, other areas, literacy, water, hunger, and so on. And now that this is so close to success, we in Rotary must begin to also plan our post-polio future. Because in just a few years, the world will be declared polio-free. And when that happens, for that moment in history, all eyes will turn to Rotary. Around the world, they'll be Googling Rotary and asking about Rotary and thinking that perhaps Rotary is an organization that they will want to be a part of. And we have to be ready for that, my friends, with strong clubs, active clubs, clubs that know who they are and what they are doing, clubs that are organized, clubs that have a strong leadership, clubs that are ready to take on the challenges of the 21st century. My friends, the day that polio will be eradicated once and for all, that day is very close at hand. We have to be ready for it. When it comes with a powerful Rotary, a Rotary of enthusiasm, of confidence, of bold vision, of clear ambitions. And I've been saying that Rotary needs to change colors. From its darkening shade of gray, we need to be going green, young, enthusiastic, futuristic, bold, current generation. Last year, that's what your District of Rome, District 2080, and Franco Arzano did. One of the highest growths in the world last year. Congratulations. Keep it up. Keep going. Okay, give him a round of applause. But what I'm asking you today is, what are you going to do to be ready? Because Rotary International is international. Yes, but its strength, my friends, is local. And that local strength is with you. You know, there is a lot of noise in our world, a lot of information coming at us from all directions. And too often, most of the noise is bad. We hear about the wars, the disasters, the economic gloom and doom, Greece today, somewhere else tomorrow. It's relentless. One could so easily develop a pessimistic view about everything and even think that it was completely rational. But part of our job in Rotary is making noise not about the bad, but about the good. We need to be talking, getting ourselves noticed, because I believe, and I really do believe, that people are not naturally pessimists. They want to see and hear about the good in the world. They want to believe in it and be a part of it. So why shouldn't they be a part of Rotary? Why shouldn't they act on all those feelings? Why shouldn't we all? At the end of the day, why are we all in Rotary? It's because we love it. It's as simple as that. We love the experience that we have in Rotary, the fellowship, the friendship, the good feeling that we get from helping one another, the feeling that we are making things a bit better, the feeling that we are being useful. And love, my friends, can only grow when it is shared. And so I ask you today to take that love that you have for Rotary and embrace it and share it with the newest generations of our Rotary family, so that your love will live on for generations and generations to come. Let me end this evening with a story about my favorite person. Some of you may have heard me tell this story before. A story about Mother Teresa and her work in Calcutta. You know, people used to come from all over the world and work with her in her hermitage. We call it ashram in our language. And stay with her for a few days. Very Spartan life, food very simple, vegetarian every day. And they would go to the villages and work with people, the leprosy afflicted and so on, come back. There was this group from America of about 15 people who had come in, men and women, and then they worked in the villages, and came the day when they had to go back home. And they came to her and said, "Mother, give us something that we can take back to our home, some message, and tell our people when we go back home." And Mother said, "Well, you know, smile. Smile at your neighbors. Smile at the world. Be happy. Make other people happy. You know, smile at your children. Smile at your neighbors. Husbands, smile at your wives. Wives, smile at your husbands." And one young man in the group was a little bit flippant. He said, "Mother, it is obvious that you have never been married." And Mother came back to him in a flash. He said, "Oh yes, I have been married, but I find it very difficult to keep smiling at Jesus because he asks too much of me." My brothers and sisters, Rotary does not ask too much of you. All it asks is do what you enjoy doing, do what you love doing, do what gives you pleasure doing, do what makes you sleep better at night. Do what makes you feel that you are a better human being. Good luck. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. This institute could really not have a better start. We are on the right step, and I only hope that we keep in our hearts the words that our President has given us. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your words. Thank you for being us. Thank you for being our President. At 8 o'clock we shall meet again for a dinner together, and we will continue these emotions and share these emotions around the table and talking among us, the fine words we have been listening this afternoon. And I think that no other better title for this dinner had to be chosen. A gala dinner to honor the President of Rotary International, Kalian Banerjee. You absolutely deserve it. We shall convene tomorrow morning as per schedule, and tomorrow morning we will enter into the second, the third, and the fourth plenary session in the morning, and the group discussion in the afternoon. Let us enjoy the evening, and let us be together again tomorrow with what I hope another beautiful, emotional day to spend together in friendship and fellowship. Thank you very much.